Hey guys, what's going on? Deacon from Yakuza Fan here, and I'm so excited to show you this little preview of Judgment, the new game from Riga Gotoku Studio. It's been out in Japan for a while now, and it's coming out in just under a month from the time of this recording. Actually, just a few weeks. Sega let me take an early look. I can talk about things that are up until the end of Chapter 1. I wish I could show you guys more because the game really opens up after Chapter 1, but there's a lot of stuff in here that's honestly just awesome. This might be my favorite Yakuza game since Yakuza 0, and that's saying a lot because I think when I did my review for Yakuza 0, I gave that game 5 stars. And if Judgment keeps up the pace that Chapter 1 is showing, I wouldn't be surprised if I see that score getting up there as well. Basically, they've streamlined everything. They've taken all the crap that I really hated about the last few releases and gotten rid of it. They've redone the leveling system. The combat works great. It's a little limited right at the start. I know that's going to turn some people off, but the way you acquire skills now is just way better. So I'm just going to go through a couple of the things that I've sort of seen in the opening chapter here and point them out. There's some really cool stuff that this game is doing, so let's take a look. This is all post-recorded commentary, obviously. I just want to be able to sit down with you guys and really just sink our teeth into the kind of stuff that we're going to be seeing. Oh man, I wish I could show you guys the later chapters. It's awesome. Anyway, let's take a look. So right away, I'd like to talk about the English dub of this game. And I know that's not going to be for everyone, but for new players coming in that can't get through the subtitles and the original language, and people who struggle to read, I think that this is a great addition. Everyone sounds great. I think the casting choice was awesome. Actually getting an Asian American actor to play Yagami was a great idea. I'm really thankful for that. The way that they've put this dub together, though, the thing that really amazes me, they've got separate subtitle tracks for the Japanese and the English audio. So with the way that English works with our different idioms and slang and just way of speaking, they've got a subtitle track that matches more of the flow of the dub, and then a separate track if you're playing it in the original Japanese that more matches up with what the original cast was saying. And I don't think I've ever seen any game do it like this, and I think that it needs more recognition because the way that this has been put together is just awesome. So, as you can see on screen, here's what the English track is saying. It's a little bit looser. It sounds more like how Westerners would speak. And here is the Japanese version of the same thing, and you can just kind of see the slight differences. Like, it's the same script, more or less. There's just some slight differences, and this is all from the opening cutscene, so I hope I'm not spoiling anything. It's just really interesting. So, the dub, pretty good. I would recommend it, and I really want to see more companies take this approach to the multiple subtitles. Anyway, moving on. I'm not going to go into too much detail about the graphics and the music. I think that's something that I can cover in my review, and without playing the rest of the game, I don't know whether I can comment on that, but it does look great, I will say that. As far as the gameplay goes, it's pretty much what you've come to expect from a Yakuza game at this point in terms of combat. You mash square, you hit triangle. There are a few extra moves that Yagami has where you can like jump up a wall and do some martial arts moves. He's more of a kung fu style fighter instead of Kiryu's dragon style. It's fun. I think that it's a little bit lacking at the very start of the game, but with the way that the unlock system works in this, I think it's a little easier to gain new abilities, and it's all been streamlined, so I found myself regularly unlocking things, and I spent a lot of time with Chapter 1 where I was able to go in and get a lot of experience. Everything isn't hidden behind the sphere grid where you have to grind out spheres like it was in the old games. Everything is just nicely laid out in his cell phone. It's 300 points to unlock, say, this skill, and you pay that money that you earn from just doing random battles. From what I've seen so far, you get the same amount of experience per battle regardless of how many skills you've unlocked, which is fantastic. I'm so happy with the way that you unlock abilities in this. There's also hidden skills around Kamurocho. Instead of coin lockers this time, we can find hidden QR codes around the city. And if you take a picture of those with your cell phone, you'll unlock the ability to buy a new move that maybe you didn't think of before. It's really cool. I like the way that it ties the city directly into your own character progression. It's really neat. I found, especially after I put in just a couple of levels into my strength, I was just mowing down enemies. It really felt like I'd improved my character. It didn't just feel like a small incremental upgrade. It felt like even just one level of the combo or the attack, it felt like I was actually beefing him up. As far as the fighting styles go, Yagami, as far as Chapter 1, has 2 fighting styles. One is specifically for one-on-one combat. It deals a lot of damage and focuses on putting out as much damage as he possibly can. The other fighting style you've got is faster and is more meant for crowd control. It has heat actions that are tied more into destroying multiple enemies at once. For me, I found I wasn't really using his secondary fighting style for crowd control. I felt like I was able to take care of everyone, especially when enemies attack 2 or 3 at a time. It didn't seem like there was any real reason to change. I don't know. I think that once I start unlocking new abilities and new heat moves for both styles, then I'll really be able to say which I prefer, but right now I'm definitely favoring one over the other. For the random battles, there is another new mechanic here where if you take too long in a random battle, and it takes a long time, I am honestly surprised that this is in here. If you take too long to complete your battle, the police will show up to try and break up the fight, and then you have to outrun the police, or it's not a game over. You get arrested, and then they take 10,000 yen. Yeah, I don't know. It's a strange mechanic. It seems a little pointless. Fights are over so quickly, and you would really have to be trying to get arrested for this to kick in. It's very strange, but whatever. It's new and it's interesting, so take it for what you will. This is one of the things I really like about Judgment. They've added a new friendship system, or at least they've done a twist on the classic friendship system they've had in previous games, where you can go to different places around town. Pretty much any business has a person there that you can interact with and befriend, and if you befriend them enough, if you fill up that friendship meter, then you might find them walking around town, and they'll either give you an item or help you out in battle, or there's some kind of perk, and it helps raise your overall reputation into the city, which further down the line will help you unlock things like cases and side quests, stuff like that. So it's one of those systems that pays back into itself the more you put into it. I really like the way that this one's done. The one we're playing right now, you can see we're trying to help a girl that's working in a hotel. She wants to learn how to speak better English, so you keep coming back and you help her with her English with different hotel guests. And it's just a sweet little side story. It's one of the weirder things about Judgment is you'll have sub-stories that don't end in fighting. And for a Yakuza game, that is a very strange feeling. Kiryu always solves every problem with his fists, whereas these are just stories that are just stories. And it's a welcome change. It feels like maybe not everyone's in the most dire of trouble, but you're just out helping people, and I really like that. So for this last little bit here, I don't want to spoil too much. I just want to talk more about how the actual gameplay mechanics work. Because Yagami is a detective, this game is more about almost sneaking, stalking, infiltrating. You don't feel like the powerhouse that Kiryu was. This is a lot more of a stealthier, a sneakier approach. Some missions might have you tailing someone so that you can pick them out of a crowd and see what they're doing if they're up to no good. Other missions might have you breaking into a store by picking the lock. There's 2 separate lock-picking minigames. The big action battle stages that Kiryu would have been not entirely replaced, but each stage feels like a smaller affair. It's not this big sprawling thing where you're going to fight everyone on your way. It's like, okay, sneak into this apartment building. You've got to pick the locks, try not to get caught. There's no real stealth mechanics. It just feels like you're infiltrating, like you're doing something sneaky as a detective. Yeah, everything always ends with you getting found out and having to fight your way out of the situation you find yourself in. But it feels mechanically so different to Kiryu's straightforward approach of run headlong into an enemy, fight, and then move on. It's a nice change. And I really, really like the way that this one works. It doesn't feel like it's just, you know, run forward, fight, run forward, fight, run forward, fight. This actually feels like I'm, again, more part of the world. I really hope that you guys will agree with me on this one, because I think that Yakuza has gotten a little bit stale in the regular gameplay mechanics. So seeing this change in Judgment is something that I want to see continued further in the series. You still have the classic gameplay of getting into fights, but I think that this extra on top really sells the game a lot more than maybe the previous few. So the last thing I'm going to leave you guys with, because again I cannot really talk about anything post Chapter 1, is the new arcade games. And I think I prefer the selection this time around. It's a little mix of old and new. We've got Puyo Puyo, we've got Fighting Vipers, we've got Fantasy Zone. There's some great classic games here. Space Harrier makes its return. And then of course you've got you know, the Shogi, the Mahjong, we've got darts, all the classics making their return. The one that I love a lot more than I thought I would, because I didn't really like the original game too much, is the new Kamurocho of the Dead machine. And it is a classic Sega style light gun shooter. And I wish there was another control mechanic to be able to play this game, because playing it with a PS4 controller just feels bad. But I love everything about this game. It is just a light gun version of Yakuza Dead Souls. You are going through a zombie-infested Kamurocho. You are shooting zombies, try and get as many headshots as you can. It's just an on-rails shooter, similar to something like Time Crisis. I love it. I think there's only 5 levels, and it's just schlocky fun. And I always love the extra mini games that Sega throws into these things. So if you get a chance, play Kamurocho of the Dead. It's, I think, one of the most fun mini games they've done. It's very reminiscent of the spearfishing in the previous titles in Yakuza 6. Same kind of concept, but it really does feel like, out of all of the games that they've ever made, except for maybe Boxelios, I want Kamurocho of the Dead to be an actual arcade machine. I think it holds up really well. It is a lot of fun to play. So make sure you check it out as soon as you can get to a Club Sega. And I think that's going to do it. I know this was just kind of a short preview. Just here's a quick look at what's in Judgment. I wish, again, that I could show you a little bit more beyond Chapter 1, because the game does open up. We get to see a lot more of the new Kamurocho. We get to learn more about the characters. I think that this cast of characters is maybe the best it's ever been. I wasn't a huge fan of the different families in Yakuza 6, so I think every single character in this is just awesome. I want to know more about them. Everyone has their own secrets, their own backstories, and it's just a good time. So I hope you guys are all excited for Judgment. I'm going to keep playing. If you have any questions, hit me up on Twitter, hit me up on Facebook. I will be happy to answer them, and I look forward to showing this off a little bit more soon. And yeah, thanks guys. See you around.